Welcome to Demystifying the Metaphysical, here to help you find more compassion in your life. Before we find out what our headline tells us, if you haven't already, check out the video on the signs palm readers look for a general overview on what to look for when looking at the lines on the hands. You can find the video link on the top right or in the description below. Stay till the end to find out whether or not you're a genius. The headline is the second horizontal line that runs across the palm. It starts from the thumb side of your hand and moves towards the little finger. It tells us about our mental health. As we begin looking at the characteristics of the headline, keep in mind if a characteristic is seen on both hands, it intensifies or confirms that the characteristic exists. If it's only on the non-dominant hand, perhaps the person has outgrown the characteristic or feels that way inside but doesn't show it to the world. If it's only on the dominant hand, then it's probably present in the character, but look for other signs to confirm. The headline represents the way we think, how quickly we make decisions, our ability to exert self-control, focus, and convey our thoughts. And it also reveals the subjects we're interested in. If you can't find a headline or heart line, you most likely have a simian line, which is a combined head and heart line. This line is present in 5% of hands, and it's a sign of strong focus. The simian line on this hand is faint, but it usually goes all the way across the palm. To learn more about the simian line, check out the What Kind of Lover Are You video where we explore the heart line. Video link on the top right and below. Before we look at what the starting and ending points of a headline tells us, for those that are not familiar, here are the official names of the fingers and mounts on the hand. The index finger is called Jupiter, middle finger Saturn, ring finger Apollo, and little finger Mercury. Typically, the headline starts on the thumb side of the hand in the space between the mount of Jupiter and inner Mars. And as we'll see later, if the line travels all the way across to outer Mars, this is considered a long headline. And if the headline starts to curve downwards towards the mount of Luna, the person is most likely creative. To learn more about the secrets revealed by the mounts on your palm, check out the video on the top right. The typical headline starts where the purple line is, but there are two other places it can start. One is on the mount of Jupiter, shown by the blue line, and the other is below the lifeline on the inner Mars, shown by the green line. The lifeline is right below the headline, highlighted in yellow. When the headline starts on the mount of Jupiter, the person will likely be very ambitious and will want to lead others. When the headline starts below the lifeline, this could be one of two different characteristics. They could either be intense and argumentative or timid and prefers to keep a low profile. Here's an example of a hand with two starting points on the headline, one on the mount of Jupiter and one in the usual spot right between the mount of Jupiter and inner Mars. The additional starting point on the mount of Jupiter will increase a person's determination for success as they take pride in a job well done. Is your headline connected to your lifeline? And if so, how long are they joined together for? When the two lines are joined together past where the index finger ends, like on the hand on the top, the person may not trust their own decisions and would prefer to get a second opinion because they're concerned with what others think. They could be easily influenced by others, especially their family. Some head and lifelines are only attached just a bit at the beginning. This is a sign of someone who's conservative and has a healthy balance between respecting their own ideas and taking into consideration other people's thoughts. Likewise, a person with a slight gap between the head and lifeline, as seen in the hand on the bottom, are balanced in that way. Additionally, people with a detached head and lifeline are independent from a young age, courageous, and respect their own ideas. As the space between the lines get bigger, the more self-reliant the person will be, and if it's too wide, they'll likely be big risk takers and will not be concerned with what others think. Here we have two hands with a straight headline. There are different degrees of straightness. but usually straight line adds reason and logic to a person's characteristic. If the line is so straight that it looks like it was drawn with a ruler, the person will be quite stubborn. The hand on the right has a short headline, which is a sign of a practical, objective, and strong-willed person. People with a short and straight headline have very specific interests, making them experts and specialists. While a person with a long, straight headline, like the hand on the left, has an inquiring mind and likes to mull over things for hours, thinking of all the possibilities. These people tend to be interested in math and science. Here are two hands with curved headlines. Curviness adds creativity and flexibility to a person's characteristics. Just like the different degrees that we saw in the straightness, there's a big difference between a slight curve and a deep curve. The hand on the right has a short curved headline. This is a sign that a person is adaptable, receptive, and imaginative. People with curved headlines tend to be influenced by their emotions more than their head. When the headline is deeply curved and long like the hand on the left, and the line ends on the Mount of Luna, this person is strongly influenced by their subconscious and is intuitive and has a vivid imagination. They can be daydreamers. How similar or different are the headlines on each of your hands? If the headline is curved on your dominant hand and straight on the non-dominant hand, the person might be trying to curb their imagination. And if the opposite is true, then they're likely developing their imagination. Now let's take a look at where your headline ends. If it ends under the finger of Saturn, noted by the purple dot, this is considered a short headline. Someone who is practical, makes up their mind quickly, focused, and perhaps a specialist in their field. Typically, the headline ends under the finger of Apollo, noted by the blue dot. And if it's so long that it goes across the width of the palm to the percussion side of the hand, this is called a Sydney line. This person likes to contemplate, can be obsessive in their thinking, and may have many interests. Do you have a wavy headline like on this hand? If you do, it means you're inventive and full of original ideas, but you might have a hard time making decisions because there are too many options in your head. Is your headline forked? And if it is it a small fork like the one on this hand? Or is it a big fork where the two ends are reaching for different mounts on the hand? A fork adds versatility. The person is able to see both sides to a question. If the fork is big, one end of the fork might reach for the outer Mars, while the other end reaches for the Mount of Luna. A person with this kind of fork can come up with both practical and creative solutions. Here's an example of a big fork where both ends are reaching for the Mount of Luna. The top branch is slightly curved while the bottom branch dips deep into the Mount of Luna. The top fork helps this person make practical use of their creativity. Is one leg of the fork stronger and longer than the other leg? On this hand, the bottom leg, which is reaching for the Mount of Luna, is thicker and longer than the fork reaching for the Mount of Outer Mars. So this means the person has a versatile mind, but is more influenced by their imagination than the practical side of their mind. What we see on this hand is not a true fork, as this fork is created by the intersection of the fate line and the headline. The lines of the fork should originate from the headline. Here we see a line rising off of the headline, merging into the heart line. This is a sign that the head has surrendered to feelings and emotions. A branch off of the headline that doesn't merge into the heart line has less of an impact. Here we see the headline is more prominent than the lifeline. This means that the person's inner world is more important to them than their physical world. For example, a person can be so deep in thought that they forget to eat. It is rare to see a flawless headline, but this one comes pretty close, except for the beginning of the line where there are a few small islands. Overall, this line is of good quality. It is deep, clear, even in its depth and clarity, and of good color. Pink is the color we're looking for in the lines. Keep in mind that a pink on darker skin tones can show up as a warm brown. When a person has deep and clear lines, they have the ability to focus and concentrate. They're more likely to take consistent action towards their goals and communicate effectively. A person with a thin and clear headline will have less mental stamina and would benefit from relaxing the mind once in a while. Before we look at the potential defects, or as I like to call them, additional characteristics of the headline, keep in mind that it is rare to have a perfect headline. Also, keep in mind that the lines on our hands can change, and never take one indication as the absolute truth. Look for confirmations, repair signs, and balancing factors elsewhere on the hand. We're here to find compassion for ourselves, so let go and free yourself. A chained line looks like a bunch of loops linked together. This is a tough line for the energy to move through, as the loops force the current to have to go round and round. A person with a chained line might find it difficult to concentrate and focus, or can be confused. Splits off of the headline take energy away from the main line, but splits that are above the headline are better than splits that fall from the line, as these could represent pessimistic thoughts. While lines going upwards is a sign of optimism, the person could be aspiring for achievement. Crossbars on a headline often indicate worry or a mental challenge. The deeper the bar, the bigger the impact. Big dots usually represent specific events of stress or mental pressure. A break on the headline shows nervousness or an unstable mood. The break on this headline is self-repaired, as it has an overlapping line that runs parallel to it. And the condition of the line after the break looks more clear than prior to the break. So the experience noted by the break improved the person's mental health. Often the headline starts off broad and shallow, but then the line clears up like what we see on this hand. The age at which this change occurs will show when the person began taking responsibility for the direction of their life and to think for themselves. On this hand, it's about halfway through. Assuming the person lives until 85, the line clears up around the age of 30. Do you have a triangle anywhere on your headline? On this hand, a triangle is formed at the end of the headline by the intersection of the fate line, the headline, and the line of Mercury. A triangle on the headline means mental brilliance. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.